At this time, we are now going to go to the mayoral race. Gentlemen, just a heads up because of time, I'm going to ask that we are going to reduce our closing statements to 1 minute apiece, if that'll be agreeable with both of you, yes? Okay, very good. At this time, we will go to the opening statements, and Mayor Maso, of course, Mayor Maso, we will have you go first, sir, and then Mr. Smith, Tom Smith, we will have you go second. These are 2-minute openings.
Well, good morning, and thank you for being here. I want to first thank the Chamber and the Governmental Committee for putting this on. It's a great resource for the city, and I appreciate all of you that you do. I know it takes time, and for all of you being here early in the morning, thank you. I think this is our biggest turnout for one of these events, so we sure appreciate it, or close to it. Also, Judge Payton has been a great resource for the city. I know he was talked about earlier, but y'all have to sit down and talk to him about what he's done for teens in Frisco specifically. He's been a champion of teens, done a great job, and it's been a pleasure to see him work and all the good that he's done for our community. You know, I moved to Frisco in '92. I'm married. Val, I don't know if she made it. She had kids to take to school this morning, and we have 3 children. I don't know if they're children anymore. One is 20, goes to SMU. One is my daughter, that's Brandon. My daughter, Lisa, goes to K-State in Manhattan. She's 18, and I have a 13-year-old at Wester. You know, it's been great being part of this community. I almost know every face out here, and every one of you has done something for us, and that's how we've come to where we are today. This has been a collaborative project. Frisco is a great community, and it's great because of the people that live here. You know, the things that we're going to talk about today is what we believe in, and I believe in public safety. We have 4th safest city in the country of our size, and that's something that has been a priority for all of us over many years. I believe in low taxes. Frisco has the lowest tax rate in a study we did last September of any city over 100,000 in Dallas, Tarrant, Collin, Denton County. Done a great job with that, and that takes a lot of hard work. It's just not something you say you're going to do. I believe in the many successes of education. I believe in the many successes of the volunteers that have made Frisco what it is. Frisco is rated as the 7th best place to relocate for business and people. Frisco is rated as one of the best 100 places to live. We are the fastest growing city in the country. Those things didn't happen overnight. It happened with a lot of partnerships with the region, with our citizens, with the business community. So I'm proud to be part of it. It's a great community, and I'm proud to live here.
Mr. Tom Smith. Mr. Mayor, would you please pass the microphone over to him? 2 minutes, sir.
Thank you all for coming today. I really appreciate it. When I'm out walking neighborhoods, one of the biggest questions that I get is, Tom, what would make you a good mayor? And a lot of times I like to answer that question by asking a question. What is it about politicians that frustrates you, that makes you uneasy, that bothers you about what they're doing or not doing? And for me, that answer, whether it's Washington or Austin or Frisco, is a lack of leadership. Not knowing when to say no to things, not knowing when to say yes to things. In Washington, we send our tax dollars, 40 cents of every tax dollar that goes to Washington pays for debt. Frisco, it's even worse, it's 44 cents. My opponent, and I appreciate his service to the city, has had a history of saying yes to everything. Fire Station 7, Fire Station 8, Grand Park, a branch library, a dog park, roads and infrastructure, $160 million in rail, $40 million for an arts center in Allen. It's not all. 10-cent increase in the gas tax, and sadly, supporting the use of city lobbyists with our tax dollars to oppose lowering the appraisal cap. My question is this: aren't you tired of this? Aren't you tired of people in office who can't control themselves when it comes to spending your money? Because if you are, there is a choice in the election. You can vote for more of the same, or you can vote for someone who has real leadership, who knows judgment and when to say no and when to say yes, and who will govern Frisco with genuine humility and won't care who gets the credit for all the great things we do. Thank you.
We'll go ahead and we'll start with the first question to Mr. Smith. This will be a 1-minute response. Mr. Smith, businesses, while they don't necessarily vote directly, they do pay a good portion of taxes through property taxes and real property taxes. As an elected official, we're going to play the role game. As an elected official for the city of Frisco, do you believe that you only represent the residents, or do your constituents also include the local businesses in town? And how do you maintain that balance?
I certainly believe you have to represent everyone. Certainly in the position of mayor, you have to be someone who is an advocate not only for all the residents, but for corporate citizens in the city. And I'd like to address that for a second. One of the issues I think we have in the city, while we have a lot of great things that people come to and spend money on a retail basis, we don't have an adequate corporate tax base. And we have to establish an adequate corporate tax base, a permanent tax base, where large corporations are located here, and we have a tax base that provides a long-term sustainable revenue stream for our city, and it also provides somewhere for our residents to work as well as live, so they're not driving to Plano and Richardson and Addison to work. And currently that's an issue that we have to work on, and it'll be one of my top priorities as mayor.
Mayor Maso. 1 minute, sir.
Same question. Well, clearly you represent the citizens of Frisco as an elected official, but clearly our residents are very smart and they understand that the business community is what helps keep our taxes low. Creating jobs here is a critical component of our city, and I've made it one of my biggest priorities. We have created over 5,200 corporate jobs since I took office, over $484 million in capital investment. So I disagree respectfully. Frisco is one of the lowest unemployment rates in North Texas, period. We are creating jobs with our partners. I make it a point to sit with every CEO. We have a Frisco Connect quarterly where I meet with them and ask them what's on their mind, how we can do things better. So, and from a representation perspective, we have to work with all our stakeholders. That's what makes Frisco successful. Our citizens understand that, they've supported it, and they've helped us reach that level. We are one of the best places to create jobs. We have more projects in the pipeline today than ever before.
This question will start with Mayor Maso. This will also be a 1 minute response. To those folks who are wanting Exide out of Frisco, if they are not able to meet all of the proposed regulations and be the cleanest battery recycler in the country, how would you mitigate and or replace the effects from the lost jobs, decreased property taxes, or community involvement if things don't go right?
Well, the first part of the question, if they don't meet the regulations, they need to leave. I mean, that's a really simple answer. They need to be the cleanest plant in the country if they want to remain here. And frankly, I have friends that work at Exide. I know they are, and it's very difficult for me to deal with that. But the reality is, our role is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of our citizens. It's the #1 priority. That's the core function of government, and that's what we will do. The jobs are important, but there are other jobs that are being impacted. There are other citizens being impacted. So it is a complex issue. I've spent a lot of time on it. Last 10 days, I've met with Exide officials twice in Austin, picked up and just went down there, and we had meetings. We have legislation in place. We have legislation that's very specific, that we know what we're doing on, and we're getting somewhere with. So the process is working. Takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort. So jobs are important, but not every job lost will not create other jobs here. So, you know, the first priority is public health, safety, and welfare.
Mr. Smith, 1 minute.
9 years ago today, my father passed away from complications of kidney cancer. In a little town that we grew up in, we had an unusually high number of people that had kidney problems. And no one ever asked any questions, but we always wondered, was there something in the water? Was there something in the soil? And when I'm out walking neighborhoods, I talked to a dad the other day who lives across the street from the attainment zone. And he told me, I know that I live across the street from the zone, but I know that the lead is still there. It's still coming across the street. I don't know why. It's been 10 years and we built dozens of schools and businesses, a senior center, a city hall, a police station, within a 1 mile radius, as well as 6,000 homes of Exide. But I do know this. I won't make this a political issue in the campaign. I won't create a political action committee to prey on the fears of people with Exide. The one thing I will do once I'm elected, and you have this commitment, I'll work as hard as I can and make it a top priority to see that it gets fixed.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. We will start with you, sir. This is also a 1 minute question. If the perception is, and again, if the perception is that you have to be super clean without any possible dangers to stay and operate your business in Frisco, who might be the next company you would want out, if there is one, and when, or do you stand up for the businesses in town?
Well, like Councilman Johnson, I would challenge the premise of the question. I think that what you do is you approach it from a standpoint of principle, and you balance the economic interests of your city versus the community health issues of your residents. And I think that any time that you have an issue that is like Exide, that has drifted along for all these years and now has come up and has been an issue and all of a sudden has become an issue in terms of community health concerns, that's when the feeling that I'm getting from residents knocking on doors is that their health concerns override the economic interests at this particular time. And I think one of the functions of leadership is to understand that. And again, to go back to knowing when to say no to things and when to say yes and having that judgment. And knowing when to stand up for your residents and knowing when to stand up for economic and corporate citizens that might be in the city.
Mayor Maso.
Well, again, I come back to the role of the city is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens. That's our core role. And whatever business is here has been generally, and the Frisco corporations we've had are wonderful corporations. We have great relationships. We have communication. It's open line of communication. But there's certain times that we as a country learn about the health impact of certain environmental issues. And for example, Frisco is the fastest growing city in the country. When I moved here in '92, we were 6,000 people. And we have some plants here that need to make sure they meet the regulations of the day. That includes the batch plants on 121 that we spent hundreds of hours working with them to make sure the health of our citizens is not impacted. I was proud to be part of the TXU plant on Preston Road being mothballed and now going to be dismantled. And that's a great thing for our city. I worked with them. It was a corporate partnership. We talked. The need of that plant has gone away. The area around it has become more dense. And it was time for them to move, and we worked together to make that happen. But a lot of times it's a win-win situation.
Thank you, Mayor Maso. Sir, we'll start with you on this next question, and this will be a 1-minute question as well. And this question is a fairly direct question. This question was challenged earlier, as it should have been, because it's to help promote the marketplace of ideas. So with that being said, here is the question. What do you think should be the role of the City Council and its representatives when it comes to dictating or passing regulations on who or what operates and develops in the community? I.e., there was an opportunity for a packaged liquor store to go up in the city of Frisco, went in and bought that land. How do you respond to that? Is that government too much control, or is that government protecting its community? 1 minute.
That's a great question. Again, Frisco has a comprehensive plan. We've talked about it. And that's the plan of what the city looks like at build-out. And that plan is not something I came up with or our council came up with. Citizens committees worked hundreds of hours, and it's been modified several times. So we know as a community, our citizens know as a community what they want to look like at build-out. So first and foremost, we try to follow that plan as best as we can, and minor modifications are made along the way. A property in question was purchased by the city. A lot of assumptions were made on the reasons behind it. There was homes next to that building, and the one thing that we're proud of is when you move into a home, you look at the zoning, you look at the comprehensive plan, you know what you're getting into. And many times we get the not in my backyard syndrome or some things coming to already zoned property that our citizens are upset about. And we try to explain to them, hey, it was already zoned that way. But in that case, that zoning didn't exist. All of a sudden, a liquor store could have come behind somebody's house that bought a house, did their due diligence, and that wasn't on the radar. So frankly, we try to stay out of the way as business. That's our role, but in that specific case, there's special circumstances.
Thank you, Mayor Maso. Mr. Smith, sir, your response to the question, 1 minute.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, sir. And again, the question is a direct question, and that's why I gave the IE. Mr. Johnson, thank you for that, sir. So the question directly, what do you think should be the role of the City Council and its representatives when it comes to dictating who or maybe what or how somebody should operate or develop their business in the community, i.e., there was a packaged liquor store that was to go in to a certain piece of land, and the city of Frisco came in and purchased that. Is that government being too strong and being too protectorate, or is it government acting on caution? 1 minute.
Well, I never think you want to zone for dollars. I think part of what leadership is all about is establishing a long-range vision for your city and how and what that city should look like when it is built out to capacity. And so I think that you go about it in a way where you have established criteria and you look for businesses that fit that criteria. And it would seem to me that if there's a convenience store that wants to come in, or a liquor store or something like that, you have to see whether or not, A, it fits that criteria, and B, if you're really reaching to grab it and allow it to come in, what's the larger problem? Are you not getting the right kinds of businesses that you actually want? That's what you see happening right now in Little Elm, where they're proposing to build high-density housing. And I've been up in the trails talking to residents, and they're extremely concerned about it because of the impact on our schools and our community. And those are the things you have to realize when you're mayor, that you have to make sure that those things not only do not happen within your own community, but they don't happen within surrounding communities.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. And I'm only going to make this a 30-second question because you could continue it into your final statement. Some people have mentioned that this year's council and mayoral races come down to an issue of vision. What does vision mean to you, and what sort of time frame does vision encompass as it relates to the future of Frisco? And we'll start with Mr. Smith. That'll be a 30-second response.
Vision does not require or should not include taking credit for the past. It means, in essence, what do you want to do in the future and how do you get there? And I can tell you that my vision does not include year-over-year tax increases. It does not include breaking promises to the voters. It does not include saying yes to everything. It does include prioritizing public safety, roads and infrastructure, things that we have to have a great community. And when we do engage in other worthy projects, we do it on a schedule that makes financial sense.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. 30 seconds, Mayor Maso.
Vision is working with the region, working with our citizens to make sure the city looks the way we want it to look when it's finished building out. And that means involved in Vision North Texas, which I was a speaker at, and it was a 3 or 4 year process. It involves being on the Regional Transportation Council, which decides the road alignments and gets funding for the roads we need. Vision involves public safety. Yes to Fire Station 7. Yes to Fire Station 8. Those need to take place, otherwise our public health and safety is jeopardized. Yes to following through with what the voters decided. 88% of the bonds that we have sold, public safety, roads, parks, and streets.
Thank you, Mayor Maso. We will now go to our closing statement. And again, gentlemen, at the beginning, I said we're going to reduce it to 1 minute. I apologize, but time has become of the nature. So, Mr. Maso, Mr. Smith, we will start with you, sir, with the 1 minute closing statement.
I heard a great quote in church last Sunday that I think is very applicable to this campaign, and it's as follows. In times when we're prompted to be proud, genuine humility is far more impressive. There's no one person that can take credit for all the accomplishments in this city in the past, but it's not about the past, it's about the future. And who will lead the council and support the city staff and lead the residents as we enact a vision for Frisco that includes getting our financial house in order for the long term, having and making sure that when we do engage in worthy projects such as Grand Park and hike and bike trails, and we fix old downtown and we solve Exide, that we do so on a schedule that makes sense for our citizens. And lastly, I would say that to enact all that, it requires a different kind of thinking. Because when all is said and done, it should not matter who takes the credit for the accomplishments in this city. We all know that we've achieved it together. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Closing statement, Mr. Mayor Maso, 1 minute, sir.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here today. You know, I'm the only candidate that was actually endorsed by the Collin County Association of Realtors and the Dallas Morning News as a mayoral candidate after extensive interviews. And it talked about vision, talked about future processes and selling bonds and how we build the city. Building the city takes a lot of work. I am happy to live here. I'm proud to be associated with many of you. It is a great city. Everything's trending up. I do believe we've done it right. I believe our financial house is in order for the long term. It is a wonderful place to live, raise a family. It's a wonderful place to have a business. Sales tax trending up. Home permits are trending up. Busier economically than we've ever been before, and that's a phone that should have been turned off. But I'm proud to be part of this. It is a collaborative effort with regional partners, local partners, business. I see many of you out there working hard for the community, and we sure appreciate that. And Frisco is a success story. It's used as a model internationally, folks. So I'm proud to be part of all that. Thank you.
Mayor Maso, thank you. Please give the candidates a big round of applause. And again, thank you for being here this morning. I'm going to turn it back over.